Good day, all. This is about dating with a diagnosis video. I recorded one earlier, however, it was a bit glitchy, so I'm going to try to do it over again on this lovely device that I love so much. So about dating with a diagnosis, I have been circulating a flyer and a survey. It's actually it's a two-part survey because I want to give people the opportunity to share as least or as much as possible. And I will be collecting the data to look on a scale from 1 to 10 of how common these experiences are. The survey can be taken by anyone interested in participating, sharing their opinion or experience on how relationships affect recovery, and specifically mental health recovery. Clinicians can take it, peers can take it, persons with or without disabilities, family members of persons with a disability, or anyone who really has some type of knowledge of like what relationships are like for people living with a mental health diagnosis and are in recovery. Please share the survey with anyone you think is willing to participate. There is no time limit or deadline. It'll be ongoing for a while. About the survey, is it's a right now it's a two-part survey. The first survey is yes or no questions. The second survey is scaled questions, like from a scale from 1 to 5, how much or how least. The third survey is pending and will give participants an opportunity to share more of their experience, maybe even willing to share like more of their story about the experience. Why I started this project and why it's important. First of all, there was a trend going on in the recovery community about not dating other peers, dating whether they work or just attend the groups together, or dating within the community. And that was a big thing to me. It was like, well, relationships are very important, and you kind of meet people how you meet them, whether that be online, whether that be at a coffee shop or through friends and family. And it's kind of an inevitable effect that people are going to date. But this is not just about dating. This is about how we can foster better and healthy relationships for people living with a mental health diagnosis. There's self-help books about dating. There's self-help books about mental health and recovery. But there are no self-help books about both. So dating with a diagnosis will be a workbook, an anthology of people sharing their experience. Also, there was a trend where people would say things like, "Oh, you shouldn't date or marry or have children because you have mental health diagnosis, or you should refrain from working certain jobs and having certain relationships because you have mental health diagnosis." And that's not actually true. Living with a diagnosis can be challenging to the relationships around us, and most of us struggle to build positive, non toxic relationships with partners, family, friends, spouses, peers, and colleagues. And we talk a lot about toxic relationships, but we don't really talk about what a healthy one looks like. We do, but we don't. A lot of the times, people in mental health recovery are affected by the relationships around them, what people do, what to them or us, what people say to us, and the things that we go through in social environments. Sometimes we may resort to unhealthy behaviors and unhealthy things because failed relationships with partners, or failed relationships with friends, failed relationships at work, and things like that. However, though we are prompted not to date in the recovery community, but I'll use the 12-step groups as an NANA, for example. We have, I mean, it happens. A lot of the times you'll see people sneaking in relationships in the recovery community and not wanting everybody to know, and they'll probably tell us a certain amount of few, and I think that's really strange because it may enable us to relapse and hinder our recovery. But however, in steps 8 and 9 and 10 express we should be socially adequate. Step 8 in the 12 step of NA is we made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Step 9 is we made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Step 10 is we continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. So basically, we do value and we do value having respectful relationships, and we do acknowledge that relationships are important, whether they be intimate or whether they be social. So which leads me to the Dating with a Diagnosis Self-Help Anthology / book. The self-help book will be a workbook that helps the reader identify themselves separate from their illness and identify their needs, which can help improve the meaningful relationships in their lives by defining who they are personally. We are searching for applicants who would like to share 1 to 2 pages of their experience of managing relationships in this self-help drama. Submissions will have to be a story of victory or hope and doesn't have to be about intimate relationships. The authors can remain anonymous and share their name or use an alias. Their story would be well represented in the book. I plan on doing self-help style workshops and sharing resources and books. Sources like Think Like a Man, Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man by Steve Harvey, or the film The Other Sister, Manifestation, How to Manifest the Relationships We Want by sharing the resource The Secret, the book about manifesting, DBT, CBT to work on ourselves, also using SMART goals tools to set healthy relationships, like set goals for healthy relationships. So Dating with a Diagnosis is going on and the survey has started. Like I said, there is no deadline. You could go and fill out the survey whatever you want. It's open to anyone who's willing to take the survey. And I would hope that you guys participate because it's very important that we start to normalize dating and relationship for people with a mental health diagnosis and in recovery. Also, another part of it is like there was a couple of us who were sharing our stories in the community. We noticed there was a trend that some of our family members would say you shouldn't have children or you shouldn't marry because of your mental health diagnosis. And I think it's kind of wacky and wooky. It doesn't make any sense because more in the book, I talk about how relationships is important because it's one of the first things you experience in life. It's the first thing you experience is your relationship being in your mother's womb. That's the first relationship you have, and being born and having to be vulnerable and depend on someone else for help. So even if it's a relationship with a friend or a relationship with a spouse or partner or a family member, dating with a diagnosis is very important. I think we should talk more about it. And so that's why we're doing it. So I hope you found this video useful. I hope you share it with friends and family alike or clinicians and peers to see what their opinions are on should we date, should we not date, why should we date, why shouldn't we date when having a mental health diagnosis or in recovery for substance use. Okay? So thank you so much. I hope you found this helpful. Ciao.